Del Mar Hot Topics is proudly sponsored by Asteris Incorporated, the maker of Script Center and the industry's first provider of automated prescription pickup machines for retail pharmacies. Asteris, the best customer service begins with choice. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of the Del Mar TV Foundation or the City of Del Mar.
Del Mar Hot Topics, where we discuss issues that are important to you. And now your host, Richard Levesque.
Hello, Del Mar. I'm your host, Richard Levesque, and on this program, we're hoping to shed some light on what's to become of the site formerly known as the Del Mar Shores School. You're watching Hot Topics.
The 5-acre property at 225 9th Street currently houses the district offices of the Del Mar Union School District. Nestled in a quiet neighborhood with ocean views, the Shores property is frequented by dogs, children, and residents who favor the Winston School playground and adjacent playing field over the more congested beachfront. On September 27th, the Board of Education declared the land surplus, and the clock started ticking on the 60-day window for civic groups to put forward an offer that would entice the school district to sell. It would seem the community is largely in favor of continued open use, but the city coffers may restrict its ability to go it alone to secure the outdoor space. Local activists are mobilizing a fundraising effort to partner with the city. Zoning issues would hamper commercial or residential development, but it's conceivable developers could have their day at the auction block if the city and local residents cannot find the money. Is Del Mar up to the challenge?
I'd like to welcome my guests, Laura DeMarco and John Graybill, co-founders of the SOS Committee, local residents Tim Haviland and Bill Morgan. Welcome, all of you. So, why do we need another park, another expenditure for Del Mar, Tim? You're a local resident.
Well, I think that if you look at Seagrove, you say, well, we already have a park, but that is really a park in Del Mar. The Shores is a Del Mar park. The Seagrove Park, everyone uses it. You have weddings, there's a lot of activity there, not by residents. When I go to Shores property, I see my friends. I see the same people that I saw at the workshop regarding the Shores.
It's a local neighborhood park.
It's our community park.
But how many people use it?
A lot of people. And I think that as we speak more about it, people become more aware of it, I think it will even become a bigger resource for the residents of Del Mar.
And the other thing is, too, it's the home field for Del Mar Little League. You have Del Mar Powerhouse Baseball, so you have kids from all over the area that play there.
We could increase the playing space, more soccer games. There's so many possibilities. Picnic areas.
And I think it's thought of as the Winston School. That's their school. It's a private school, and to just walk on that school is not something a lot of people are comfortable. But now, for me, I know they allow us to come there. It's open for dogs. It's open for the kids to play. As this is purchased by the city, it will become the Del Mar Park, and I think people will use it a lot more frequently.
And let me say something on that, too.
Go.
Parks are not just parks to take your children and play in, it's also open space. It's low intensity use, and that's what we need. This is a big parcel of land. It's in the center of town. 5 acres is a huge piece of property relative to surrounding parcels, and the use of that property will have a big impact on not only those neighbors, but also the whole area.
Well, you're talking about the city buying it. The city can't afford it. What's SOS?
Well, that's actually where our group comes in. John and I and Joe Sullivan and a lot of other community leaders like Joel Holliday and Chiquita Abbott, we've all come together to form SOS, which stands for Save Our School, Save Our Shores, which is the Shores Park, and Save Open Space. And we're all united in the effort to acquire this property because after a 60-day period that started when the school district declared this property surplus, it's now up for sale, and the City of Del Mar has the first right of negotiation. And beyond that, after 60 days, all comers can come. So like John was talking about, right now what we want to do is preserve the option to have that as a community meeting space and place for families and for dog lovers and for baseball teams and soccer teams and everybody else to come together. Because if we don't exercise that option, if we don't come up with the money as a community, we are going to lose it forever. And you can't get it back.
And the clock started on September 27th.
Okay.
60 days from then. And we will succeed, Richard. We will succeed.
But how do we know that there's a majority of people behind you? I mean, Del Mar is notorious for not passing bond issues,
Richard,
right?
this is something that I feel so good about. I'm really excited because this issue cuts across all political lines in Del Mar. And how many issues can you say cut across all political
Right, I don't think
lines?
you can divide it grays and greens at the
who
again
paid
at the
for it?
workshop.
The Democrats like this, the Republicans like it, the Greens like it.
Surfers
Even
are
developers are supporting us.
Developers.
We even have a group called Developers for the Shores Park, led by Dennis Cruzan. I mean, we've got a lot of great developers here in town that want to see this park preserved.
So
Judd
what,
Halenz's development company, John Moore's, I think it's called JMI, Dennis Curzon. There's a lot of major land developers that are saying this property belongs with the city of Del Mar to control its fate from here on into the future.
And the other thing is, I want to make a point. It's the community of Del Mar, not just the city of Del Mar. And one of the things that we had heard that was kind of controversial about this issue within the community is, for the last 3 years, all people have been hearing about is negotiations between the school district and the city for a joint use facility. Most people in Del Mar did not support the concept of taking open space and moving City Hall to it. So the thing that's really helped us a lot is the fact that the city council took it off the table. They will no longer consider moving the fire station here or also moving City Hall here. So they have really committed toward this being open space and a community space.
yes.
Right now, we have an opportunity that we can seize. We can seize it within the next 30 days now because the actual date started on September 27th. There are a lot of possibilities. If we let this time lapse, this property can go to another owner and we won't have any choices.
And if you think of Seagrove Park, even though it is not exclusively used by residents of Del Mar, how different would that be if that was condos or like Solana Beach? When you go on Nardo, whatever the property is right on the water, it's just solid condos. You can't even see the water as you go down that street.
Right. And what, in terms of the city doing it with Winston School, tell us about that. What do you know about that?
Actually, the Winston School is a great partner for the city and the entire community. They've proven that they're friendly to the families and the community for the last 17 years as they've rented this space. They've allowed open access to the fields. They've actually allowed us to use their facilities. We are having our committee meetings there weekly. And the most important thing is, you know, for those of us who have children, is not every kid is going to succeed at Torrey Pines High School. And what they provide is a college preparatory education for kids with learning differences. And there are a lot of kids that have those, and they have the right to a good education too, and to go to college.
If we're able to partner with the Winston School, is there, is it a reality that then we would have all these really nice facilities to use in off hours, maybe an auditorium or a performing arts center or something that the community could also be involved in?
Yes, because actually the headmasters, that's one of the things that they've talked to us about, is they want to partner with the community. They've already given the community access to some of their facilities. Given the state they are in right now, not a lot of people would choose to exercise it. That school is totally run down. The Winston School has only had annual leases, so they really haven't had an incentive to put any capital to work, and they want to.
They've done a really good job. I mean, they're really a good neighbor in town.
Yeah.
And you know, and I think really, if you take a step back too and forget just all the real estate issues and property, they're really doing something for humanity.
Right.
So that's worth preserving.
Well, originally the people that donated this land did it because they felt the school was important in our community. So we sure don't want to lose that vision.
No, if it stops being a school, is there some kind of air clause that it goes back to being rezoned?
No, that's something called a reversionary right, and unfortunately those kind of rights expire because there are so many associated legally with a lot of different parcels like this historically that the courts have basically said it would just muck everything up. So if you haven't renewed it in 7 years, then it's automatically expired.
So it's fair to say there's a lot of passion from the community to preserve this property.
I haven't heard anyone against it. I
I
haven't heard anyone against it.
For you to say that about Del Mar, that's phenomenal. There's a consensus. This is good.
But wait till it comes to paying for it. I mean, that's going to be the problem, right?
Actually, no, because I really think there's enough deep pockets in the community that are willing to support this. They're willing to either support the fact that these playing fields are the only ones in Del Mar. They've had, like Dennis Cruzan, his kids, he coached there. A lot of people have alliance to the property and what it can do for families and the camaraderie of sports and character building. You have people that support the educational mission of the Winston School that have seen the miracles that has happened with their kids. I mean, they had a kid last year that's going to Dartmouth College.
Right.
So there's a lot of different avenues for people to really feel closely tied to this enough that they are willing to reach in with their wallets.
So one of the things that I think is very important in this whole process, though, that it is easy for us to forget as Del Mar residents that this property does belong to the Del Mar Union School District, and they do have some goals and needs, whether they're perceived or real, that they need the money from this property. So whether we like that or not, I think we really need to understand that, and that will help us negotiate and develop this whole partnership and ultimately acquire this property. I mean, we don't know what their needs are exactly money-wise, but we need to find a way to find out what that is.
Personally, I think the city of Del Mar, if they're successful in negotiating a deal with the school district, I think the town will feel good about every dollar that we pay for that property, because the money is not going to some faceless international corporation, it's going to a school district. And I think the goal right now is to get the school district and get the city council to agree on a price.
And I think that was a problem with N, not to change the subject, but it was faceless. You didn't know where that money was going to go. Right. I think if this did somehow not go with volunteer money, if somehow it did go to the city, I think people would be very in favor of taking money from other areas within the city's current budget to pay for this school.
Well, I feel very successful that we're going to make this happen, and we have the Del Mar Foundation now sponsoring our group, the SOS. I think it's important that last Monday's city council meeting, the city council unanimously agreed that they were behind us, they were encouraging us. I don't know if they took a vote or anything, but they were very definitely behind what we're trying to accomplish right now, and I think we've got momentum. We're coming out of the blocks, but we've got momentum.
So if SOS is unable to come up with all the money and Winston can't come up with the rest, will the city then float a bond issue at some point? Is that is that what you're thinking?
Crystal Crawford mentioned at Monday's meeting that the time frame for the bond is too long. It would be November to the next election, and the city would have to pass the bond issue. And this issue has to be dealt with before, within a year.
Well, back to the urgency issue that John brought up, is the school district has some needs that they've identified, and they want to meet those needs as soon as possible.
So what should the community do? What are you looking for from Del Mar? What should they do right away?
Well, right now we don't have the exact figure that we have to raise, but we assume it's several $million, and what we're looking for is to get basically pledges from people and finding out their indications of interest and being able to go back to them and give them the number and how much they're willing to actually put up.
What are each of your worst fears about this? What's your worst fear?
My worst fear is that we aren't able to get a consensus, move this thing forward, and get the property purchased, and that a private buyer that the school district believes it can work with really gets in front of us.
I think the developer issue is low, but low probability. But what is a real probability is that the Del Mar Unified School District, if they can't sell it or they can't get the price they want, maybe they keep it for administrative office. And I guess that would be the worst case scenario, that they expand their administrative office.
Laura, what's any other concerns you have if we don't get this moving?
Well, if we don't come up with the money and some indication to give the school district confidence that we can perform, they are going to basically put this up to the highest bidder. And there's a number of developers who would see 5 acres, coastal area Del Mar, where the average price of a home right now is like $1.5 to $2 million. and they're going to see a lot of zeros in front of them, and they don't realize the kind of hornet's nest they'll stir up on zoning and other issues. They'll take the risk. Right. And the thing is, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to have a huge legal battle. And if somebody's willing to take that risk, they're going to have some pretty nasty lawyers behind them. And I'm afraid that the zoning could be forced.
And how about the cost to go through that costly battle too?
Right.
That could be a mess. Years from now, after they get this thing figured out, think of the money that would go into legal fees, court costs, all those kinds of things. I think the Del Mar Union School District and I think the City of Del Mar, they are both smart enough to figure this out, and I'm confident they'll make a deal and we'll raise the money.
John, I think that's a great point, is that both are great entities. There's very intelligent people in both groups, and I think if we sat down at a table, that definitely a deal could be made.
Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. After the break, we're going to talk about some potential outcomes for the Shores property. What might have been overlooked? To find out, stay with us for more of Del Mar Hot Topics. You're watching Del Mar Hot Topics, and I'm your host, Richard Levac. Let's take a look at some of the elements that make this issue so important to the village of Del Mar.
The Winston School is a private non-profit campus that has leased the Shores property since 1988. It provides college preparatory classes for 100 children with learning differences. In addition, it permits community access to the only playing fields in the city of Del Mar. The school has announced its desire to secure a permanent home by purchasing the property.
So I would like Winston and the city to partner in purchasing this property from the Del Mar Union School District and rehabilitating the buildings that are here and stepping on into the 21st century, doing a phenomenal job, I think, as we have been doing in the past.
Whether alone or in partnership, the school's motto of action this day and never give up will be needed to achieve their goal. Staying put would be an expensive proposition for the Del Mar Union School District. The Shores location needs renovation and is too small to house the district departments that are currently working in trailers and farmed out to several area schools. When the Board of Education declared the acreage surplus, it set in motion a process to obtain funds that would build or buy a 20,000 square foot office space and provide capital to support an 8th district school. Deed restrictions, the Naylor Act and public facilities zoning are factors affecting the market value of the property. With the village community poised to block a zoning change, this most money wins situation is complicated for potential buyers. This is not the first time village residents have been asked to fund the acquisition of public property. Without community-wide support, Seagrove Park, Powerhouse Park, the library and Crest Canyon would be very different today. Visitors are drawn to the intimacy of this public space. More personal than the beach parks, it is a safe place to talk with your neighbor while dogs play and children do homework.
Over on the bluffs, people aren't always as nice as up here, so. And up here, everybody knows each other. Well, and like all the dogs know each other and stuff like that too.
And dogs do play. Local residents negotiated access to the Winston School grounds for a de facto dog park.
It is a sense of community. It's a place for our dogs and for us to socialize, and it's just a really nice open space that we appreciate. And we've done some fundraisers for the Winston School to tell them thank you for letting us share the space with them. The bench was built. The dog park community did that. And it means a lot to us. And we'd like to keep it an open space. And that the school has given us permission to be here. I mean, that is the Winston School. They don't have to let us use this space. But we're really good about controlling the dogs and cleaning up after them, and so they allow us to be here.
As the only playing field in Del Mar available for neighborhood pickup games, picnics or the Powerhouse baseball team, it is a rare space where friendships are formed and memories are made.
Welcome back. I'm here with Bill Morgan, Tim Haviland, Laura DeMarco, and John Graybill. Before the break, we were talking about the 60 days. What's the big deal? What's the urgency? Laura.
The urgency is the fact that within 60 days, the school district is going to be opening negotiations with 13 government agencies, including the city of Del Mar. After that 60-day period expires, they can invite anyone to come and bid on the property. And so we could potentially lose this property to a developer who would take this open space and we'd lose it forever.
Now, if Tom Bishop were to take this thing and not really consider himself in partnership in some fashion with being a good neighbor with the city of Del Mar, he could put this out to a well-heeled developer that could come in and say, all right, give me a year to try to figure this one out with the city, and maybe I can upzone it so I can build condos and apartments, and maybe even do a commercial thing.
Well, that's a good segue here. Is there any way that the city could rezone a piece of this property for commercial development to pay for the rest?
Well, I think it's a possibility, but the SOS plan is one that we want to focus on. But at the same time, we do need to look at the other options of, does it really pencil out for a developer to possibly develop 6 or 7 residential lots and gift the rest of the land to the city for that right? There's some real negatives with that, of course. It would take a rezoning vote, which could take quite a while. I don't think the school district is willing to sit on that for the time it might take us to get that kind of rezoned.
But I think the important thing is you need to realize that the number we're talking about, maybe $5 to $10 million, quite frankly, that is less than the average price of an oceanfront home right now in Del Mar. Right. So we have a lot of people here in the community that prize open space, that really like this village core. They have kids that play in the baseball teams and the other pickup games and picnic in that park, and they really want to preserve it and create a legacy for not only their children but future generations. And in fact, that's one of the things I'm most concerned about and why I'm so involved with this is because I have 5 children in Del Mar. They go to the Del Mar Hill School, and the reason why the Shore School is closed is because the whole population migration of kids has moved east. And right now, the enrollments at the Del Mar Hills School as well as the Del Mar Heights School, which feed into the city of Del Mar, kids, they're declining. And unless we can reverse this and attract more families to Del Mar, those schools are in danger of closing.
And I think we do have a good deal of power. I'm not sure what John said about the rezoning. If you have over 11,500 square feet of commercial there, that's got to go through the city. That has to be a vote of the people, and I couldn't see that happening, that would ever, so I'm not sure the rezoning.
We have a time clock on us right now. Right. I think we really need to stay focused on that. Bill's idea about doing maybe some partial land sale and then owning the rest for park is great, but the problem is there's so many various choices. We have to start at the very top, and because there's a time frame right now that we have to meet, Del Mar could debate this for another 2 years, but the school district wants to get on with things. So I think right now we need to go with Winston School, if the city can cut a deal with them, use their facilities after hours to make it part of the civic, maybe have theater or auditorium. They'll have multi-use rooms and auditoriums, things of that type. I think we really got to gather a consensus with the community and head down the path and make this thing work. Otherwise, we end up losing our opportunity forever. The goal right now is to preserve and protect what we have, and phase 2 would be to enhance it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the idea of using a private developer to help this problem be solved is not very. I don't know anybody that's that tasteful to at all. I just know that it's been discussed in the community by different people. Bud Emerson wrote about it, and I think by talking about it, we can show that it's not the best way to go here at all. I'm passionate about relating to the school district is that we have 2 schools that serve our community in the city of Del Mar, and that's Del Mar Hills and Del Mar Heights, as elementary schools. And there are discussions ongoing now to close one of those schools. They've been going on for years, and we've been doing quite a few different things to try to keep the enrollment up so that we don't lose one of those schools. If we lose one of those schools, then the reality is that some of the kids from our community will have to bus east of the freeway to go to the other schools that are a part of the Del Mar Union School District. And In my perfect world, I'd love to see a K through 2 on the Shores site with wonderful facilities that could be jointly used by the community, and then have a 3 through 6 at a Hills or a Heights site that eventually will have to house all of our kids from the community. And we know that because the demographic numbers the city or the school district using isn't going to be able to accommodate them all.
You know, that's all the time we have. Thank you. I'd like to thank my guests for bringing their thoughts to the table. Please join us for the next Del Mar Hot Topics, when T-Pat Stubbs will lead a fiery debate about the design review process. What could be more interesting than planning and building a home in Del Mar? I'm your host, Richard Levac. I hope you'll join us next week. Goodbye.
Catering provided by Sabika, an American bistro on 15th Street in Del Mar. Hot Topics would like to thank Shirley and Rufus Abelson from Clone Duplicating and Printing for donating promotional materials. Copies of this program are available from the Del Mar Library at 1309 Camino Del Mar in the heart of the village. For questions or comments about this program, contact us at 858-481-2882 or email hottopics@delmartv.com. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of the Del Mar TV Foundation or the City of Del Mar. Del Mar Hot Topics is proudly sponsored by Asteris Incorporated, the maker of Script Center and the industry's first provider of automated prescription pickup machines for retail pharmacies. Asteris, the best customer service begins with choice.